is CNN Breaking News.
The controversial memo is out, and the fallout has been fast and furious. Hello, I'm Hannah Vaughan-Jones in for Hala Garani live from London. Let's get right, though, to our breaking news in Washington. Top Democrats now warning Donald Trump that if he tries to use the disputed memo as a pretext to fire key figures in the Russia investigation, it would be viewed as an attempt to obstruct justice, and it could trigger the worst constitutional crisis in decades. Well, the memo treats the dossier as a false, totally discredited document. But we know that at least some parts of it have been corroborated. We also know that the research's initial funding came from Republican opponents of then-candidate Donald Trump. Very confusing. Let's bring in CNN White House reporter Stephen Connaughton. We're also joined by CNN Crime and Justice reporter Shimon Prokupecz and Tim Weiner, author of Enemies, A History of the FBI. Welcome to you all. Shimon, I hope I can start with you. The memo effectively alleges that there is some inherent FBI bias against President Trump. What is actually in this memo that we didn't know before that sort of lends some credence to that argument?
Well, I mean, if you read the memo and you believe it, and it's all one-sided, it's really about the Steele dossier.
FBI special agents have not and will not allow partisan politics to distract us from our solemn commitment to our mission. Tim Weiner, I'm interested in whether the FBI has ever been accused of this sort of political bias in the past, and in any cases when the FBI has been taken on, has the person who's accusing them of something actually won?
No president has attacked the FBI and the Justice Department in this way. He may use this memo, false and scurrilous as it is, as a weapon to try and decapitate the leadership of the FBI and Justice Department as a way of getting to Bob Mueller.
President Trump, we know from earlier on in the week, overheard at the after his State of the Union address, he was being eager to get this memo out there. Now that we've seen it, the world's seen it, was it worth it? Was there actually any smoking gun in there?
I don't think so, and I think if you take an objective view of this memo, it's difficult to back up some of the claims that Republicans were making before it was released. The idea that it was representing the greatest intelligence scandal in American history, that this was worse than the Watergate scandal.
Dan, the White House has said that it wants to cooperate now with all the investigations going forward, but I'm wondering whether this could all backfire somehow on Trump, and what's happening in the building behind you now to try and manage what happens next?
There's a feeling inside the White House that there might not be as much as was promised in this memo. There's been reports of that, and we've seen some of that in the last few hours after the memo has been released.
Could what's going on in Washington at the moment, the political series of events in the U.S. Capitol, be having a direct impact on what's going on in the markets?
I think there might be a few jitters around that. Certainly one trader on the floor just now told me that, you know, the memo being released today, that certainly could have sent shares down a little bit further.
James Comey, the former FBI director, has been tweeting quite a lot since this memo was first revealed and certainly released. This is the latest that we've heard from him. He said, "That's it. Dishonest and misleading memo." I'm wondering whether you think that the need for transparency, which the White House has been going on about for the last 24 hours or so, whether that need overrides any need for responsibility in disseminating information to the public which is not based on full access to evidence.
Not only is it not based on full access, but they haven't released the Democratic counterpart, which is prepared, which is pending. So you're only getting one side of a small slice of this.
From your experience, would that sound normal to you, that these sort of surveillance warrants would be issued based on one sole piece of intelligence?
No, and in fact, the FISA law that governs the process that we're talking about here would prohibit this.
Larry, we've talked a lot over the course of the last week about Watergate and any parallels that there might be with the current situation now in Washington. How do you see this unraveling? What do you see happening next if we go on the basis that history does repeat itself?
It's critical to find out what Mueller knows and what his report eventually says. That assumes that there's no attempt or successful attempt to interrupt his investigation. And I think everyone in the back of their mind worries a little bit about that.
You're left sort of speechless when you try to dissect what it is that underlies the theory behind releasing this memo and making statements like the president is alleged to have.
You're going to have to find your speech at some point because this is going to roll on for some time to come, and your analysis, both of you, Larry Sabato and Michael Zeldin, will be required. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
And, of course, analysts have been warning that the market could overheat after months of record gains, down 7 points at the moment. Much more on this coming up in the next hour on Quest Means Business. For the meantime, though, I'm Hannah Vaughan-Jones in London. Thanks so much for watching.